welcome back to Foos Entertainment for my second review. Recently I did a review on the 1985 classic vampire horror movie, Fright Night. And a lot of people actually, that I know, actually liked it. It's still in the progress of actually getting a lot of views now, but it should be pretty popular soon enough. It was liberating to actually do a review on a movie for the first time. Before I get into this one, I just want to point out that most sequels to a classic movie, whether it be in the modern take or in the days of old, most of them never ever live up to the original. Ever. And then there are times when they not only live up to the original, but can actually stand side by side with them. Almost like a complete package of sorts. And that is definitely the case with this movie. 1988's Fright Night Part 2. Directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, who I believe is the director of the 1990 miniseries Stephen King's It. Or in fact, I'm pretty sure he is. This film is very, very good. It's a sequel. Of course, our two heroes from the previous film, Charlie Brewster, played by William Ragsdale, and Peter Vincent, played by Roddy McDowall, return to replenish their roles in this film. And in my opinion, I think they expanded a lot on the two characters within the movie. Very interesting supporting cast on this one. You actually have Jonathan Glates from the popular television action-adventure drama series known as The Pretender, which ran from 1996 through 2000, I believe on ABC. No, actually, no, take it back. NBC. So NBC is where that one aired, actually. And Brian Johnson, you might recognize from films like Lionheart and Perfect Weapon with Robert Englund, I believe. Very, very interesting movie. It's a sequel. For those that have not seen the sequel to the original Fright Night, it picks up, I say, about 3 years, possibly 4 years after the events of the first movie, in which Charlie Brewster has gone through 3 years of hypnotic and talk therapy, in which he literally has been convinced that it all happened in his head and none of it was real. And all the events of the first film never happened. It was like some group hypnosis or something. He's convinced the vampires don't exist. But, just like in the first film, he sees mysterious things, and it convinces him that vampires do exist. When he goes ahead and confronts his old friend who helped him in the first film, Peter Vincent, he's at first reluctant to believe that vampires do exist, but nothing could happen again like that. It's a one-time deal. He moved on. Then, like he did in the first film, on his own means, he discovers that Charlie's telling the truth. But Charlie, at that point, goes ahead and thinks that it's not real again, because of rational explanation. It kind of goes back and forth to, I believe you, I don't believe you, I believe you. But eventually it gets on the track. That's one of the few things I don't like about the movie, is it could have gone a lot faster if they actually would have just said, vampires exist again, it wasn't in his head. Let's go ahead and begin the thrilling, horrific story of the movie, but no, they had to take that little time. But the visual effects I thought were amazing in this movie. They definitely upped the game on visual effects compared to the first film. There's a lot more use of prosthetic makeup and there's actual animatronic heads actually attached to the actors in this movie, like our main villain, in which we'll continue the story now. We find that the vampire is a performing artist. He was our, I guess, female villain of the movie. And we find that the story is actually a revenge tell on her part. Is she happens to be Jerry Danders' sister, and much older vampire, I might add, and more powerful than Jerry was in the first film. So much so to where she actually has tolerance to crucifixes and has very brilliant mind manipulation and influence. And this is what makes the movie, in my opinion, kind of stand on its own 2 feet. She actually, it's not enough for her to go ahead and get revenge by killing Charlie and Peter. She has to destroy the reputation of Peter and this is where it gets really cool, seduce and enslave Charlie is her new, I guess, you can't really call it bride of because it's a guy, so I would say her kind of vampire groom, I guess is how you would kind of put it. She wants to seduce him and turn him into a vampire and force him to have an enslavement in which he is her lover for all of eternity. Kind of call it the ultimate torture. Like I said, creature effects are amazing, especially on the climax of the film in which they actually use animatronic heads and place them on the actress's head and stuff. The actress I thought was amazing. The actress who plays Regine Dandridge, which is the main villain, I have to say she might actually be the sexiest vampire in any vampire movie. She's played by French actress Julie Carmen. Julie Carmen doesn't have a whole lot of movies that I've seen her in, but there is one movie I've seen her in, and that would be In the Mouth of Madness, starring Sam Neill, in which she did a brilliant job in that movie. When I was a kid, I actually would rent both of the VHS tapes at the time, Fright Night and Fright Night Part 2, and actually have a movie marathon each time. It was like a weekend thing I would do. All I can say is just the story is interesting. I got a sense of gothic, like a gothic nature to the movie, to where it just kind of really felt like a darker, more polished movie. So a great movie. For anyone who hasn't seen the sequel to Fright Night, it's definitely a film that lives up to the original. It's not a bad sequel. It's actually the definition of how sequels to really good movies should be made. You should not only follow in the footsteps of the original movie, but you should try to expand on the universe of the film and make it better. And that's something that I actually really enjoyed about Fright Night Part 2 from 1988. Now let's talk about the quality of the DVD. There's actually an interesting story about the DVD. Back in 2003, I was one of the few smart people out there. I didn't know that the DVD I bought would go out of print, but the DVD actually went out of print, so you actually cannot get this DVD. The only way to get this DVD is to pay a very large amount of money for it on eBay or Amazon, in which people will actually charge you anywhere from $80 to $300 for this DVD. And what makes it very, very, very funny, and this is where it gets really fun for me, because this is my second review, but it's also going to be the first time you actually get to hear me bitch and not have so many good things to say about the DVD. Like I said, I'm going to offer my insights on the quality of the DVD too. Whoever made this DVD was probably half asleep and not paying attention. You know, whoever made this DVD should be fired for doing a god-awful job of remastering a movie that people want to see and love. It is so awful. It's not even funny. First off, a lot of people that have seen this movie, probably might be watching this review. I don't know how popular I am or doing movie reviews yet, but eventually people will probably watch this and be like, know what I'm talking about. There actually is a version of the movie out there that you can actually watch on YouTube, or you can buy from an independent contractor, in which the movie is presented the way it's supposed to be, which is in 235:1 widescreen with a 5.1 track. That is not what's on this, people. The loser who made this DVD, which is probably why you can't buy it anymore, literally took a VHS tape and transferred it to a DVD. And I don't know, maybe he poured some red Kool-Aid or something on the fucking drive in his VHS to DVD deck or whatever he was using, because there's a constant red tone of color on the entire movie. It's like watching 3D with from the old age with the plastic green and red or blue red whatever colored cardboard glasses. Only you just had the red tone. It kind of looks like that, and it has really bad VHS quality, almost as bad as like a really bad PAL transfer or something. It's awful, and it's in 4:3, 133:1 full frame, which means that if modern technology does have a big square in the middle of the screen, it doesn't even cover the entire television that you're watching the movie on. The sound, the sound is a lot like a multi-stereo soundtrack, which means that all this guy really did is he had like a 100% balanced stereo track that you put off of 2 speakers, and if you go ahead and play it off of all speakers, granted you get surround sound, a lot of stuff flies around the room, but here's the issue. It's all the same sound on every single speaker. So it's not really surround sound. That said, this is the only way you can watch this movie in the United States of America. So, you don't really have a lot of choice. But, I pray that one day maybe a good company like Scream Factory or Arrow or maybe Lionsgate will actually take a look at a movie that they actually own, because Ars Entertainment, a lot of people don't know, Ars Entertainment did not go out of business. It just got more money with making the first Saw movie in the Saw franchise and became Lionsgate Films. But there are movies that they just let to stay on their shelves and just collect dust. This happens to unfortunately be one of them. And this film is a good movie, which is why it's irritating that Lionsgate doesn't actually take the time to make a decent copy of this movie. That said, movie-wise, if you can get past the really bad quality of the video and audio of the DVD and watch the movie, you'll have a good time, because it's a very, very good sequel. And of course, if you have a real sound system like mine, the sound quality is not nearly as bad as it is on a commercial DVD or Blu-ray theater, in which you just have, cheaply made speakers with a cheaply made receiver. But instead, you actually take time to get a real theater. Like I said, I can't stress enough about that. There is a science behind how to properly set speakers and properly have a listening position and viewing position to really get the best out of your electronics. That might be a video I actually might do somewhere down the line. It's actually explain the proper options are optimization. Sorry, I have a hard time saying that word for some odd reason. But basically, how to get the best out of your seating arrangements and your speaker placement and stuff like that. Maybe give you a little idea about how you